Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Sean here once again, Sovereign Man I Am, back with another video. And in this video I want to talk about something I've also wanted to talk about for a while, especially since I was affected by the Mandela effect, which is how to use recent quantum discoveries, and especially the proof, if you are Mandela affected, that we've all had as a result of the Mandela effect, to actually manifest the life, or really anything that we choose or want to manifest in our lives, based on quantum discoveries. It's actually made it a little bit easier when you wrap your mind around the multidimensional nature of our universe to actually manifest, which isn't so much even manifesting as really shifting into the life, the universe, the version of yourself or ourselves that we prefer. I started looking at different manifestation techniques many years ago in my early 20s, and a great book, if you haven't read it yet, which I would suggest reading, is called Think and Grow Rich. It's by an author named Napoleon Hill. Even before I started getting into quantum physics and some of these recent discoveries, it's a book that helped me manifest many great things in my life, just by changing my overall attitude. And it's a book that I would definitely recommend reading. But with recent quantum discoveries, I find manifesting anything that I want or need in my life has gotten a lot easier, because I've shifted my focus from looking at actually manifesting into quantum shifting, or shifting myself into a completely new universe. There's another guy who I follow on YouTube quite often. If you haven't seen him, definitely check him out. His name is Bashar. He's a channelist. In fact, his name is Daryl, I believe, but he channels a being named Bashar, and that's also helped me view the universe in a completely new way. It really helped me quit smoking. The way he described quitting smoking was, instead of actually looking at quitting smoking, to simply shift into a universe where you never smoked at all. And I used that technique, and I was able to quit smoking, which I had tried numerous ways: gums, patches, hypnotherapy, acupuncture, all kinds of different methods to quit. I wasn't able to quit, but by actually using the technique of shifting myself into a new universe, one where I never actually smoked at all, and bending my mind around that concept, I was actually able to give up smoking for good a couple of years ago, which has been a great benefit to me. I've also used these techniques. I started playing guitar several years ago, and I was sort of plateaued at a certain level, and it was getting frustrating. Although I had made great progress, I also used these techniques to drastically improve my playing and my singing virtually overnight, just by shifting into a universe where I'd already had basically the level or the talent that I was looking to achieve, and it really worked for me. So these techniques, we could look at them as quantum jumping, quantum shifting into other universes. Especially, again, those of you who are Mandela affected, we do have proof. We've shifted entire universes. Once you do have proof and the knowing, it kind of makes these techniques a little easier. But even if you aren't Mandela affected, just by looking at recent quantum discoveries and the fact that we now know that we live in a multi-dimensional universe, which means there are infinite versions of ourselves, what we can do is simply use our imaginations. Anything that you can imagine yourself being, doing, or having exists in a parallel universe. And when you can finally accept that and sort of bend your mind around it, manifesting, we don't even have to look at it as manifesting anymore, but it's really shifting into the life or the version of ourselves that we prefer. So as we now know, we are constantly shifting from universe to universe, moment to moment to moment. And when we begin to realize, accept, and know this fact, we can start to use our power as multidimensional beings to actually shift into the reality and the version of ourselves that we prefer. So how do we actually do this? The techniques are very similar to what was discussed if you ever read the book The Secret, or if you ever read other books that talk about actually manifesting the life. The techniques are quite similar. Spiritual people and spiritual teachers have known a lot of these facts for a long time. Of course, they had different ways of explaining them. But essentially, we use our imagination, which is really our creative force, to imagine the version of ourselves or whatever we want to manifest into our lives, to imagine it in as great of detail as possible, but more than just using our minds. Our minds are nowhere near as powerful as our hearts. That's also been proven recently with science. The actual field of our hearts extends far, far beyond what our minds can possibly do. So the way I do it, and I'll give you a little technique I learned a few years ago towards the end of this video, but the way I do it very simply is I imagine what I would like to manifest, whether it's something physical or an ability that I would like to possess. Imagine it, but the most important thing is to imagine it and to feel how it would feel if it had happened already yesterday. And one thing that I do is when I'm trying to manifest something new into my life, I'll imagine it, but I will put it in the past, in the very recent past, like it just happened, I just achieved it last week or last month, and I'll feel how it would feel very deeply. I'll go into an actual meditative state and feel very deeply how it would feel to have achieved that yesterday, last week, or last month, and then imagine myself living in that version of reality, the one that I prefer more. And by using our heart center, of course using our mind to imagine what we're trying to achieve, but the most important aspect, the real trick to actually bringing it into our lives, is to feel the feeling as if it had already occurred, because the way we actually shift through realities is really by our beliefs and by our feeling, by our heart center. The more we're in fear, the more we're actually descending into realities where our fears will come true, the more we can actually imagine with excitement and joy what we'd like to bring into our lives, the more we're shifting in the direction of actually having those things physically present in our now moment, and actually manifesting, again I put that in quotes, but actually manifesting what we want to bring into our lives. So again, it's really a question of switching from the idea of manifesting or attracting what we want into our lives, and it's a question of actually realizing that the power entirely lies with us, to stop looking outside of ourselves, to go deep within our feeling center, and to imagine as if whatever it is, if it's money, if it's a job, if it's a talent or something, a relationship that you want to bring into your life, to imagine it, but when imagining it, actually bring yourself down into your heart center and feel the feeling as if it had already occurred. And by bringing that vibration into your being, you're actually shifting closer and closer to whatever it is that you're looking to manifest. Now, also through quantum physics and quantum mechanics, we've realized that time, linear time, is an illusion that does not exist. So it does not have to necessarily take a long time. In fact, as far as, like I was saying, my quitting smoking, my guitar playing and my singing, by using the meditation that I'm going to describe in a minute, I was actually able to quit smoking pretty much overnight, as well as improve my guitar playing and my singing in the same very, very quick fashion. Because again, the idea that if we want to manifest something, it's going to take a long time, and putting it out into the future as if we're going to have to travel this A, B, C journey to get to where we're going, when we can actually let go of all that, let go of the idea of linear time, and let go of the idea of manifesting or attracting what we want into our lives, and look at it as simply a quantum shift, as simply something that already exists. If we can imagine it, it already exists right now in a parallel universe. If it didn't, we wouldn't be able to imagine it at all. So by understanding and realizing that, it's much easier to actually manifest whatever it is we're looking at, and it doesn't have to have any gap really in time. In fact, if we can really, truly believe this, we can manifest anything we want in the moment right now, and simply shift into the universe where we already have it. And in doing it that way, it's actually a lot easier. It's very hard for us to convince our 3D minds that these concepts are actually true. And again, that's why if you are Mandela affected, you already do have proof in your life that you've made a major shift in universes, in timelines, so it is a little bit easier. But even if you haven't, again, take a look at some of the recent quantum experiments. Read these books. The Secret leaves a little bit out, which is really in terms of the feeling center. I've heard many spiritual people talk about the heart center being the radio dial of frequency, which is really how we shift. We shift through our heart centers more than through our minds, but of course we use our minds, especially our imagination. Our imagination really is our creative force, to imagine what we prefer, and then we use the dial of our heart center to actually shift our vibration into the reality that we're imagining that we'd like to experience in our lives. So the meditation that I use, and I actually learned this from a guy named Bert Goldman, you can find him online too. He talks very much about, he calls it quantum jumping, where we essentially jump into the universe, as I've been describing, that we prefer. But I use this meditation quite often, and it's quite simple, but it's very, very effective, and that is to imagine yourself going down a flight of stairs as you're beginning your meditation, to slowly relax. Go down a flight of stairs into a hallway, and imagine the hallway is however long, 50 feet or so, and relax and let yourself go into a state of relaxation as you go down the stairs and you start walking through the hallway. At the end of the hallway, imagine a door, and that door essentially leads to other realities, to other timelines. Relax, imagine where you'd like to be, what you'd like to manifest, what you'd like to be in, bring into your life as you get closer and closer to the door. And as you get to the door, tell yourself that when I come back from here, I will have everything I need. If you don't believe it right away that you're going to shift entire universes through the first entry through that door, tell yourself that at the very least I'll have all the answers and everything I need to bring whatever it is I'm looking for into my life. And when I come back out this door, I will feel better, and I will know everything I need to do, and I will have all the information I need to have to bring what it is I'm looking to bring into my life. Again, use a meditative state, use relaxation as you're going down the stairs and through the hallway. When you get to the door, open the door, imagine yourself walking through the door into the multi-dimensional nature of our universe, and again, use the version of yourself that appears or exists in another reality. You can even imagine yourself, once you're through the door, talking to that other version of yourself, viewing and imagining that other version of yourself, the life or the whatever it is you're trying to manifest, as if you've already have it. Stay in that space. That I imagine myself walking through the door and basically being in space, where I'm able to see all these multidimensional realities, choose the one I want, imagine that I'm already living it. I already have it, and I've already been living it for the last several weeks. And again, I stay there maybe 5 or 10 minutes in that state. I actually view and imagine my other version that's living in the timeline or the reality that I prefer. I sometimes imagine myself having conversations with him. I'll stay there 5 or 10 minutes and then come back out through the door, open the door, and realize that you have made a shift. And the more you can believe, or the more you can even more than believe, know that these techniques, there's other techniques, and I'll get into other ones in future videos, but that's really where I started, and I still use that meditation today. And like I say, I've experienced miracles with it, especially in terms of talent and abilities that I wanted to take on board. So I know it works, and it's just a question of actually really jumping off the cliff in terms of belief or knowing that anything, again, we can imagine exists, and we can shift into it. There does not have to be any gap in time. And really allow yourself to believe that fully, to know it fully. And when you come back through the door, tell yourself, regardless of anything, how quickly I shift or not, I will feel better, and I will know everything I need to know to achieve everything I'm trying to achieve in my life. So that's one of the simple ones. Like I say, there are some other techniques I'll get into in other videos. But as far as manifesting anything we want in our lives, especially knowing the multidimensional nature of our reality and realizing the fact that anything you can imagine already exists in a parallel reality, using that knowledge to our advantage and our benefit, we can actually, instead of looking at manifesting and looking at this large gap in time between what we want or where we are now and what we want in our lives, realizing it already exists, there does not have to be a gap in time. The more we can convince ourselves, believe, and more than believe, the more we know that is true in our hearts, using our heart centers to actually vibrate or adopt the frequency of what it is we're trying to achieve, we can bring anything we want into our lives. And again, there does not have to be a long gap in time between now and achieving what it is we're trying to achieve in our life. So that is really, again, one of the simple ways I've found that really works. I've used it a number of times. I still use it today, and it works every time I do it. So definitely, if there's something you're looking at manifesting, whether it be a completely new life or something that you're trying to bring into your life or a new ability or talent, try that technique. You'll see it not only works, but it really, by the time you finish the meditation, even if it's only 10, 15, 20 minutes long, you'll already be feeling better. You'll already be vibrating at a frequency that more closely matches what you're trying to achieve. And it works really, really well. So again, this is some of the ways that I use, and it's both scientific, and I do have a bit of a logical scientific mind. So for me, a lot of these discoveries through quantum physics and quantum mechanics helped me immeasurably. But even prior to that, these books that I'm talking about, whether it be the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, even The Secret helped me quite a bit. Although there's a host of other books that I read even prior to a lot of these quantum discoveries, or at least until I learned about them. So definitely check those books out if you haven't, and try this meditation technique if there's anything you're trying to achieve. And I'd be more than happy to hear some of the results and some of the success stories once you try it. So that will conclude this video. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing any feedback with anyone that tries it. I will continue using these techniques in my life. And once again, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.